We're going to convert this line drawing of this pickup truck into this three-dimensional looking drawing, something you can pop in a frame that'll make you think of the crisp air and the pumpkin spice. We're going to paint this pickup truck, and we want to put a lot of dimension into this so it looks more realistic. It'll be a lot of fun. I'm going to show you how I typically paint my pickup truck so that I'm applying this watercolor here with my water brush. You may have a traditional brush and water cup, so you can dip into that. I suggest you have a fine tip brush so that you can get into these little areas here. And I'm leaving a little bit of the white of the paper. We can go back over that in a little bit. I've got my paper towel to clear off and my mixed up colors that I've got here as you're planning yours out. So you can use my take and paint that you buy at tamery.com, or you can also find free clip art, and you can print that out to the right size and trace it onto watercolor paper using a waterproof micron pen or a pencil. If you put it up to your window on a sunny day, you can use that as a light box and trace a pickup truck and then add a few pumpkins. They're not really too difficult to draw in. If you don't have a take and paint with you, you should check out the different varieties that I have online there of all kinds of different fun motifs, maybe some things that are a little more difficult to draw, and then you've got creative prompts. You don't have to think about what you're going to do, how you're going to do it. It's all mapped out for you. I sell books as well, so that you've got several different choices in one convenient book. They're all at 5x7 with an edge to be able to cut it out of the book and pop it in a frame. I do that on purpose because it's a lot of fun. You can put, like this one is seasonal, you can just change out your little paintings that you did, or you can pop it into a standard envelope to mail out to somebody as a gift or a card. Okay, so you see what I'm doing here. I'm just kind of applying paint a little randomly because I would like these little blooms and things to happen, filling in that space. And if you want it to be completely smooth, then you may want to just add some water first, wet on wet. I do have a basics video that talks about how to get started with watercolor, kind of how the brush works, how the paint works. That way you're all set to paint. I enjoy painting from line drawings rather than just abstractly starting at a painting without any lines or guides, but that's obviously artistic license to make that decision. So I usually, when I teach a class with this one and also flower bouquet pickup truck and some Christmas tree trucks and things, and I tell people to do them piece by piece because you'll end up with these little white lines in between that kind of help give the dimension to the truck. So I'm going to go up here now, and just don't put your hand in it. If you go outside of the lines, you would just clear your brush off, get it nice and just clear water, and then you would kind of scrub at that area that went out of the lines and just press down very carefully with your paper towel. Just kind of stamp it and it'll usually come up. If you have to make a couple passes at it, and if that doesn't work, then maybe find something creative to kind of add to your drawing with a pencil, and that way you can kind of cover up the mistake without having to feel like you have to start all over. Now, on this truck, I am going to add, you want to usually wait till that paint is completely dry, or just make sure they don't touch. And I'm using this sort of like a marker, putting it down, dragging it toward myself because I'm the most steady that way. keeps my hands from getting into that. And I'm going to wait to do this one up top here. And I'm leaving the white of that for now. Like this one I kind of got a little messy, and I'm just going to pull that paint into there so it's lighter but still has a differentiation in its tone. So now I'm going to start working on my pumpkins. I've got a few of these oranges, and I'm going to start with this back pumpkin and just go along those lines there and let that kind of set up, meaning I'm going to let it dry a little bit. And you'll see what I mean in a second. And let me grab a different tone of orange. Following some of those lines. I want to kind of leave the white of the paper in there. That way it can look like a highlight. And now this pumpkin is kind of absorbing into the paper and drying lighter than, because of the water it looks darker. So I'm gonna come in here, and I really don't want that box look, but I'm gonna let that set up a little bit, and then you'll see I'll go over it in a second. And I'm gonna do this like a nice little gray. Oh, I have so much water in my brush. And kind of come along here. It's awful dark. These little painted pumpkins. Clear my brush. Now that my brush is clear, especially if you're doing that dark color, I'm going to just take a clear brush and kind of lightly go across there to pull some of that pigment across and leaving the lines of my brush still there, the ones I want. I'm going to do the same thing over here, going around that leaf like so, and clearing my brush, moving that pigment around. You can always go back and add more layers. We may do that, but that's up to your discretion. And I'm going to try to get some good amount of pigment in. It'll load easily to the end of your brush, like that. So the tip of your brush is going to have the most pigment in it. Okay, now I'm going to start kind of pulling some of that black pigment, and you see I'm wiping off my brush to the side. We have a place called Hunter Farms near us, and they have pumpkins you can pick, although they don't really grow them there. And we would take our boys there every year, and they'd have fun and ride on a tractor to the little petting zoo at the barn. It was a lot of fun, a lot of great memories, and I absolutely love pumpkin seeds. So that's like being an artist. I like to carve and do that fun stuff, and then it's kind of a pain to make pumpkin seeds, but by the way, Pinterest has some really good recipes that are just like with a little garlic, like a little more than salt. Yeah, the savory and the sweet ones. A lot of fun to try different flavors out. Now I'm going to come in here and get this leaf, and I'm choosing to do it this bright color so it will stand out. It's one thing to kind of plan your colors ahead of time. I've got this woodland set that I sell on Tamery.com, and you can use your own, but it's kind of a raspberry look, so it's a little bit of a deeper kind of red. And I made this kind of gold for the gourd, and I think I want to add a little bit of brown into it. I think it's just too kind of yellow. I don't want it to look like a lemon. It's ridiculous, so we'll do like that. Yeah, see, that looks better already. Okay, and kind of put a little more detail. Oh my gosh, I've got that yellow in my brush still. Along there. All right, well, that pumpkin has a little different shade than I was planning, and now I've got this red in here, and I'll show you what I meant. I've got a clear brush. I'm going to take this and kind of just stamp it, and see, that's gone. Now I won't paint over that right now to fix it, or else it'll just bleed into where I just was. And now I'm going to go in here and do these little straw pieces like that. Get the back of the car on the truck there. And then I've got, for water, I just mix these two together, and I'm just kind of, I'll leave a little white of the paper in that so that it looks like glass. Now I'm going to take my clear brush, make sure this time I cleared it off, and kind of, well, that's kind of set in, and just kind of blend. I actually still have pigment on my brush from over here that I'm kind of adding to this so that it's not stark white, but you can always add just a watered down version from your palette too, if you would prefer. Because see how that made like a circle around there? Now I'm going to move that around because those minerals are going to pull right into that weird shape. So see where these blooms landed. Typically I don't go back over things like this because it'll leave those marks, but I'm actually enjoying the marks here. So the more the merrier. Just kind of come along here and get this. Oh, spotted everywhere. Okay, so we've got the majority done already, which is great. And now we're just going to go over these tires. So if you've got, wow, a good black in your box, if you don't, or if you have my tropical set that I also sell, you can mix. I just mix across the color wheel and I get like a darker blue and an orange, and it will make a gray black that's good for tires. So you can always pause the video and work along and do this with some friends. People always enjoy doing my classes in person with their group of friends. Some are a little more creative than others, but everybody always has a good time. I have official classes that have like a practice mat and all the pause features on my website. You can purchase the practice mat and all that, and it goes right along with it. So I highly recommend that. And let's see, we want to get this bumper just like so. So your truck is finished, although you may want to put the ground and a sky in there. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Otherwise, this is perfect for putting it in a frame. And I'm going to pick kind of just what I've got here in my palette. Let's test that out. If you get my Take and Paints, I provide for you a little strip of paper so that you can mix up your colors like you're seeing me do here, and that way you can make sure that you like what you have before you apply it to your paper. See, that's making some crazy blooms in here, and I kind of like it, but I'll probably fix that in a second because it's a little wild. Kind of got out of hand there, and I'll add a little pigment. Oh, that's right, that was like, it kind of laid it thick. Okay, and I do suggest that you if you're really particular, to take a minute to kind of, oh my goodness. Wait for those to dry. Don't even take my own advice. If you watched any of my videos, do that because I'm in a hurry. Okay, I remember up here I was going to do something else too. Maybe add a little bit more orange, deepen that up. So I'll do that while I'm waiting for that to dry a little bit. Oh, I know what it was. It was this leaf right here. Okay, so I'm going to turn this upside down, and I always recommend that, let's see, we've got this. I'm going to do really faint sky because we've got this blue truck. It's good if you kind of pick a different hue. But you can lay down like some water, a thin coat of water. With a water brush, you're kind of pushing a little bit of that water out. You don't want to buckle your papers. You don't want to douse it. But with a brush, you're squeezing it with a water brush. And if you've just got a traditional brush, then you just want a thin layer of water. And we do want to make sure that we're going left to right or along a horizon, because that's the way the sky goes. You don't want to be doing up and down. Kind of being careful around these not to activate the paint there. I always like to do my subject first and then add the background. It's a little tricky to get around those. If you've got the fine brush, it'll work, but that way you're not pulling the paint into or activating this into the sky. Okay, I actually like how that's looking up there. It's kind of, you can add a sunset in here, tap in all the colors. Just be careful that what you put in there doesn't make some kind of crazy mix if it's still wet. And there you go. You've got the sky in the ground and a cute pickup truck in the fall.